Hey, what's up, everyone? Kino here, and I'm back with another reaction. I am reacting to The Crown, season 5. Now, I've not uh, posted any reactions, of that series yet on this channel, and because Netflix releases all the episodes at once, I decided to just watch them straight through and not react to each individual episode. That's why this is going on the Kino Studios channel. Just because I feel like when I do something like this, which is kind of shorter in nature, I just feel like it's not enough content to justify being on the main channel. So I'm going to post it here. And also, I feel like most of my audience is probably not too interested in The Crown, but it is a show that I've been watching since it came out, and I thought it was really good. The show in general, I mean, I'm not talking specifically about the season yet. But yeah, I've enjoyed this show. I think it's one of Netflix's best series. I think it's very much focused on like character and subtle storytelling versus like the Netflix problem. The problem that Netflix usually has with its shows is like it always needs to go crazier and it does something where it jumps the shark. And that's why subsequent seasons of shows, Netflix shows specifically, generally tend to suck. They have a strong like first or second season and then it just peters off after that. And luckily this show is based on reality to an extent. We'll talk about what that means, but because of that, it feels like it doesn't have the same kind of problem. It's like tied to a real story. So I've enjoyed each of the seasons I've watched so far. I've enjoyed a different casting. I think everyone's done an incredible job with the role. And yeah, I'm excited for we're in the final 2 seasons. This is the 5th one. We're gonna get one more with the same cast, and that will be the end of the show. Now, this is the first season to take place after the Queen of England passed away, Queen Elizabeth, who the show is about. And I was surprised to see that a lot of people didn't like the Queen. Like a lot of people were posting, like in my Discord, that they were happy she was gone, which I didn't get it because I was like, I thought, for being who she was, I was like, I thought she did a good job as Queen. No major controversies with herself. I don't think the idea of a queen is like necessarily horrible. If it's a constitutional monarchy, it doesn't really bother me or anything. Obviously, I'm not British, so I don't speak for any of them. But, I thought, she seemed like a good person overall. Not talking about the rest of the royal family, they definitely have their scandals. But so does everyone, So I don't know why it's such a big deal. But regardless, this is the first season that takes place after her passing away. Doesn't seem like it affected the story at all, because obviously this was in production way before that happened. I didn't even see like any kind of like memorial or anything to her, like been like, dedicated to the memory of the Queen, which you think they would have done. But maybe they're saving that for next season. But yeah, so this season takes place in the 90s. Each season of the show takes place during a different era of Queen Elizabeth's reign, with a different woman portraying her during each of those sections. So this one we have a completely new casting. It's I think her name is Imelda Staunton. It's the woman who plays Dolores Umbridge in the Harry Potter movies. So I thought she did really well. She obviously has a tough act to follow. Claire Foy in season 1 and 2, and then I can't quite remember the actress' name from seasons 3 and 4, but I thought she did a really good job as well. So I thought that was great casting on their part. Prince Philip, really like is his name Jonathan Pryce? Been in a bunch of things. I really thought he captured the mannerisms that Tobias, I can't remember his last name either, the previous Prince Philip, the same kind of mannerisms he brought forward. So I thought that was a good job as well. We got Jimmy McNulty as Prince Charles, Dominic West playing the Prince of Wales. Really well done too. I thought it was a little weird to I get that they always cast someone new, but I was like, he was already like an adult, and it didn't seem like he had aged that much because he was like in his 30s or something, in season 4, Prince Charles, and now he's in his 50s. It didn't feel like he would have like changed as much as he did during that time to be a completely different person, but it reminds me of the Family Guy joke when they're talking about How I Met Your Mother, and he makes a joke about like, the guy in that show is already a grown man. Like he's not going to grow into Bob Saget, the voice of the father. So I kind of felt that way a little bit about Prince Charles, but Dominic West does an amazing job. Again, really carries forward the same kind of mannerisms, the same body posture that the previous guy did. I thought it was really well done. Excuse me. We have a new casting of Princess Diana, which was great. Sad that girl only got to play one season of Diana, because I thought she was really good, the one who played her on season 4. But it does make sense that she was very much a little girl during that season, and she's kind of grown into a woman in this one. And we have some other people recast as well, but that's the main cast there. Now, in terms of the storyline this season, I was worried that is it only going to be about Charles and Diana? Because that's the biggest thing that happens, over the course of the series. And of course, we as the audience are very much aware of the drama about their lives. But one of the things The Crown does really well, I think, is balancing both the personal drama of the family and also a lot of the political stuff that's going on in the real world. Now, I will admit, I think this season was a little bit lacking on story outside of like Charles and Diana. We do have some of it, and I think the storyline is actually it's like a different take than I would have originally thought they were going to do. I thought it was going to be kind of a rehash of season 4, where it was just all about Charles and Diana. It did feel a little bit separate from that. But I will admit that a lot of the politics was not there this season. We really didn't get to see the stuff that's happening in the world. Now, it's the early to mid 90s. There isn't a whole lot. I mean, there's the first, I think, Iraq war going on. There's some other important stuff too. The Soviet Union collapses. We get an episode about that, but we don't really dive into like the political side of it. There's the Prime Minister John Major. We don't get a whole lot. We get a lot of him like interacting with people, but we don't get a lot about like what's going on with his reign personally, which I thought was a little disappointing. But a lot of it obviously still follows Charles and Diana. They actually portray Charles pretty well in this. Like they don't make it like a character assassination. They actually do more of it towards Diana. They make her look very crazy and unstable. Which I guess you could argue maybe she was. I don't know I don't know how much of the storyline is real. It seems like most of it is based on reality. They obviously change. It's a fictionalized account. They change the details to fit a storyline, but it doesn't seem like they tell like outright lies. Certainly they invent some scenes, right? That stuff that didn't happen, but it seems like they're hinting at like a deeper truth. It's like evoking the truth rather than telling it, right? So one of the things I read a little bit was John Major, the Prime Minister, said he never met with Prince Charles privately. He called that scene rubbish. Of course, they made that scene up, but it's what it's getting at, rather than saying like this happened. That's not the real point of the scene. The point of the scene was to emphasize Charles's discomfort with being perpetually the prince when he wants to be the king. He's 50 years old. He's like, I've accomplished nothing with my life so far. I'm ready to step into the big seat. But, his mother's like, you're not taking my seat yet, not till I die. And I'm sorry, Charles, you still had to wait for a good long while after that. He just got it this year, actually. So I felt like it does feel historically authentic to me. I'm not an expert, of course, at all about this, but it doesn't feel like they're telling sensational lies. They're just dramatizing it, making it fit like a storytelling structure, and trying to tell a character story. It's one of the problems with trying to make real people into characters. Characters have to be consistent to work as characters, right? If your character is you're someone who's cowardly, you have to be cowardly consistently until you change. And then you can't go back. Otherwise, it feels like, your character's just flip-flopping. In real life, that's not how people are like, right? I can be a heroic person one day and a coward the next day and a heroic again. Like, that's how real life people are. You can go back and forth as much as you want, and we do. Whereas storytellers, by necessity, have to make their characters have an arc. It can be a messy arc, but it has to be moving in a certain direction. Whereas in real life, we don't have to be moving in any direction. We can stay the same. So I think that's always a problem with any kind of like historical show. They're going to run into that issue. But I do feel like, they do the best job they can, and it feels respectful to the real life people involved. I know there's some people who are like, this show is so disrespectful. To me, like, yes, it's showing that, yes, there were absolutely real problems. Go look at the history. There's some like real issues the royal family has. But I felt like it addressed it in the most respectful way it could, while not, sensationalizing too much. So I appreciate it. I think it's a subtle show. I think it's well done. This season overall felt a little bit weaker than the other seasons, just because it felt like it didn't have a story to tell. I was also surprised at how long, or like, what it chose to focus on, especially when it came to the Charles and Diana stuff. Like, we get to their divorce, but we don't really see her relationship with Hasnat Khan, the doctor, which it seems like in real life that was much more, like, they were dating for like 2 years. And they only show it like over the course of like one episode. We don't see, like I said, their separation stuff. The interview, they spent a lot of time focusing on the interview setup. I don't know if that's true or not, that the BBC interviewer like lied to her and faked all this information. But they spent a lot of time on that, but not as much with the actual characters themselves. So like I said, overall weaker than the previous seasons, but still pretty good. And I appreciate, again, that Netflix is at least trying to put out something that's like got some class to it. The show has class. It's got some talent behind its writing. And they never go too far also with like bringing in modern sensibilities into it. Like it feels like the characters are like believable when they talk about certain issues, where it's like, we obviously have our modern sensibilities, and some of the things they discuss in this feel like, it feels like characters of the time period would have these opinions rather than modern writers kind of forcing them to. It never comes off as like forced for me in that way. But overall, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about it. I think it was a good season. Again, I didn't feel like reacting episode by episode. It just, I don't have too much to say per episode. But great acting, pretty good stories, and I cannot wait for to wrap up the final season. Hopefully next year if it comes out. Just because this will be quite an accomplishment that Netflix has kept a show at this level of consistency the entire time. So, well done to them. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more reactions to other random stuff coming up soon. Bye.